Namaste. My name is Preity Upala, and I am a global thought leader and a multimedia personality. Welcome to my podcast, The Preity Experience. Join me as I explore some of the most fascinating and crucial issues that affect our world today. I take a unique global perspective on these issues, and the very foundation of my insights is humanity and spirituality. I'm Preity Upala, and welcome to the Preity Experience.
Namaskar and welcome to this exciting session again with a very special guest today. And just before she speaks, I'd like to describe her in my own language that she has been a wonderful dharmic person, very good activist, very popular across continents. Uh, in Australia, she has done some work. She has been on popular radio shows which she has hosted, and she is a very articulate dharmic personality. And many people think that when they compare women rights in Sanatan Dharma are way different than any organized faith. And in Sanatan Dharma, women have the power to choose and also fight at the same level like men do. And it has been a history of great women fighters in India. And so, without delay, I'd like to bring you on Miss Preity Upala.
Namaste, Adi, and namaste to your wonderful audience. I'm so honored to be on Satology finally. So, what a pleasure and a joy to be here and get an opportunity to share my experiences and a little bit of my viewpoints with you.
No, I really congratulate you on all the successes you had and positive impact you have made in the American society with their Eastern values, dharmic values. So before we start off, so what is your thought process which motivates you in doing what you do?
Thank you so much for asking me that brilliant question. Look, ultimately, life is about two things, at least from a dharmic perspective. It's knowing and fulfilling your dharma in life, which is really your purpose. And then obviously moksha, which is the liberation of the soul and the ego. So this is the whole reason for existence. It's very clear in our philosophy, in the Vedic philosophy. Everything else is maya, it's just an illusion. It's the world is a lila, a divine play. We are just playing our part, doing our bit, saying our lines, interacting with other actors. But the only things that really matter are the dharmic aspect of knowing who you are, and at the end of it, moksha. So for me, as soon as I found out what my dharma is, it was very easy for me to sort of dedicate my whole life towards this pursuit. And I am someone who gets a lot of pleasure and joy from serving, from giving, from doing seva, but seva in my own way, which is really about knowledge, information, gyan, and all that good stuff. And also, I think I've been blessed with a lot of gifts to be on the global stage and be brave and speak out and write and produce. And not everybody has that opportunity. And I know I do those. So I think God has blessed me with these things. So I must utilize them. That's why I make sure that none of this is going to waste.
Absolutely. I think there is a very famous saying in Bhagavad Gita which says, Neha Bhikramanashvasti. That means little bit advancement on this path can save you from the greatest danger. So that's exactly you have been doing, focusing on the dharmic aspect of life. Now, let me ask you one another question that which you put in your answer in the first answer. You spoke about Gyan and Dharma and other things like that. So, what is the essential work that you have been doing to actually propagate what you believe in? That's what you explained just now.
Okay, wonderful. It's so amazing to be able to, I think, express my philosophy, my spirituality, my understanding of ancient civilizational wisdom. So when I call myself a dharmic ambassador, I feel that I am basically a bridge between, the Vedic world and the rest of the world. So I write a lot, for publications all around the world on these matters. And I also speak a lot. I do a lot of media interviews trying to share our perspective, our side of life and things. Because what I've learned is even though when you look at Bharat, it's the oldest continuing unbroken civilization in the world, at least 6 or 7 thousand years, if not longer. And in a couple of years' time, it's going to be the most populous. And yet, I don't think too many people know about us, and they don't know that much about Vedic philosophy and culture. So it kind of baffles me, and I just thought it was my duty to sort of share this amazing civilizational wisdom, ancient wisdom, because I feel like the tools that are in Sanatana Dharma are perfectly relevant. They're timeless. They're eternal. They're contemporary. I think they're actually for right now. And I think in Kala Yuga, we need them more than ever before. We're seeing this, especially post COVID. I think the whole world has woken up from a slumber, and they can all see what's good and what's not good, right? What's sattvic and what's not sattvic. So I just feel that my whole role is a small part of a much bigger sort of machinery, of a spiritual machine, let's say. And I'm playing my part, and I'm spinning quite fast now. I just feel like I have a lot of traction. I'm also writing a book on Shakti, and that is going to be a very, very interesting, hot book because I really looked at this concept of feminism from an Indic perspective, which I don't think has been done to the level that I'm going to write it out, and it certainly hasn't been promoted in the West. So not too many Western people know about this concept and that it exists and that it's such a perfect framework for women's rights, gender equality, balance, femininity, all those wonderful qualities that we aspire to achieve. But I think the Western framework, quite frankly, has failed us. So I think the Indic perspective actually has the answers. It just needs to be implemented, I think, in the right way. But it's there. So I think my job is to just sort of showcase it to the world.
No, very well said. Uh, you just spoke about Shakti and the Western mindset. Just to let people or audience let me remind them that the entire concept of liberation of women from the clutches of church, which actually treated them like an object just 60 years back, 70 years back, and the soulless entities was never present in the Indic or Vedic philosophy. Vedic means ancient name of Hinduism. So, what are the different aspects in this book called Shakti, which is a divinity or the energy of the Lord or the Bhagwan? What aspects do you want to address through this book that you have?
Fantastic question. Fantastic question. I think it's under the umbrella of Shakti itself. You have a multitude of topics and issues that one can bring up. Obviously, in a mid-sized book, you don't want to inundate somebody with too much information. But I think essentially there's a few interesting points. The most beautiful thing is we have a recorded history of upholding the divine feminine, right? We've had, I always joke in Sanatana Dharma, there are more goddesses than gods. Even the gods are scared of the female goddesses. And the female goddesses really run the whole show there, and we revere her. She is loved, and uh, people are she's more respected, even, I would say. That's We don't see that within other frameworks. I mean, quite frankly, it's only very recently, and that through constitution means that women in the West now have parity. It certainly didn't come from scripture, but for us, we always had the parity, and in fact, I would even say they were one step up. The other difference is we don't encroach on each other's spaces. In Sanatan Dharma, Shiva Shakti, male, female, it's a beautiful dance, right? Yin Yang. One doesn't need to give up their place so that the other can sort of shine. But here I feel in the West, it's pretty much an a zero-sum game, right? If I'm going to have something, then somebody has to go without. And I think we've seen that for too long. And traditionally, it's always been sort of more coming from a male perspective. But since this third wave of feminism, now we're seeing the other side of it, where there's an encroachment almost and an emasculation of the male, of the divine masculine, right? Where I think men here in the West, especially in this country, are even frightened of their own inherent masculinity, which is a beautiful thing, and we need that in the world. In fact, women, they love that, and I don't think we can really function without that. It's the perfect marriage of the two. But in the Vedic philosophy, there is no encroachment, and also nobody's fighting for rights here. We know as a woman what our duty is, and in the West, it seems to be more about rights than the right thing to do. And I just feel that when you look at Indian women, they are powerful, they're strong, they're intelligent, they usually run the home, but at the same time, they're sensual, they're beautiful, they're feminine, they dress very feminine. Everything about them is very soft, open, and vulnerable, which is very attractive, I think, to any man. And they don't have to look like a man, they don't have to be a man. I think here in the West, women are taught to sort of give up on who they are to be what they want to be. And we don't have that philosophy within Shakti. So I really think that we are at a conjuncture, at a sort of interesting point in society around the world, where I think we need to make some choices on the path that we're going to go down. So I just want to give people some food for thought and kind of present other frameworks that might actually be better for them.
See, one interesting thing you spoke is the rights. Now, in the Vedic culture, is built on duties, not on rights, and the Western culture is built on rights because of the division of church as a philosophical, a gateway between God and humanity, and so there people have to get the rights to attain God. And in Vedic culture, it's totally different, where the dharma is individual, personal, and there are God ordained rights, duties and rights for everybody. So there is a very stark difference between the two. In the Vedic culture, women have the freedom of choice, including husbands, and in the Western, which is church driven or even Abrahamic driven principles, women are given rights to choose. Means like they don't have the rights to even make a choice, and which you can see in many cultures out there. So in a way, the Vedic culture offers more freedom to women as well as men equally. I mean, it doesn't matter, because the primacy of soul is more important than the bodies that they have. So how do you answer that, and what do you do? What do you address? How do you address that?
That's
While
absolutely,
explaining to people, that's what you do.
that's so true. The essence of spirituality itself, the focus is on the word spirit, Atman, right? So again, this goes back to the concept of who are we. I love Sanatan Dharma because it answers these three eternal questions that simply are not addressed in sort of when you look at monotheistic, dogmatic frameworks, which are who am I, where did I come from, why am I here, and ultimately where am I going? But the who am I bit of it is I'm Atma, I'm universal consciousness. In a way, I am divine as well. So we're not man, woman, right? We're beyond that. And that's why we always treat each other as the Atma, right? Even you should see in India, people always say, why do you worship a cow? And why do you got all these animal gods or this and that? Because we see divinity in every living entity, including nature, right? And you just don't have that sort of, I think, worldview out here in the West where, this is an animal, this is a rock, this is a mountain, and I am a person, and only I have consciousness or I have intellect, or either only I am the one whose feelings matter and whose life matters. But in the Vedic concept, we are all Atman and we're all divine. Yes, because of the, we know again duty and Leela and all that good stuff. We know that we are in this, and this again goes to the point of reincarnation too, because the soul is kind of eternal, right? I mean, this time around, I'm a woman, I'm living in LA, but in a past life, I might have been a man living in India, for example, right? And my Atma has those lived experiences. And when we treat each other not as the mind or the body, but the soul that resides within, then we can go of all of these identity baggage that we have. I think in the West, we are taught to identify with your status, your success, your ethnicity, your gender, your sex, all of these things. But in the Vedic culture, you're nothing but pure energy and pure love and pure divinity, let's say. So when you look at life that way, when you look at the world, when you look at each other, it's a very, very different point of view where you don't have those sort of biases or the baggage that comes from identity. And identity politics is also doesn't go well with Hinduism, right? It's a failed concept for us. We really treat people, we don't group people, and it's not all that. We understand everybody's function in society. We've always been like that, and they work harmoniously for the most optimal society and optimal planet. This is what we've been doing for thousands of years, and I think we're largely intact even today as a result of those systems, order, hierarchy, whatever you want to call it. There is a need for that, or else it's all chaos, and the world sadly is going towards this sort of chaotic milieu, let's say, which I think if we don't do something about it soon, we'll be in the we'll be in the soup ourselves, and be too late.
You made some great points. Uh, there's another, which is a post-coronavirus. You said the first part, and I think there for a long time there won't be any post-coronavirus because we are going to live through that. We're already going through that, and there's a resurgence also people are talking about, and the stock markets have responded to that in a negative way since yesterday. Now, in the coronavirus, the biggest thing that people have been talking about is the kind of a many people, especially in Los Angeles where you stay, is many people are losing jobs, and there is a lot of big problems coming to the families, small families, single mothers, and also women who are dependent on jobs, and then they're losing their occupation. So there is a talk of a mild depression. So you may choose to not answer it, but just putting a question out is that is there a is there anything solution, since you're locally active, that you have planned to give a dharmic solution or helping single mothers and also women who need such help in your community in Los Angeles?
Well, I think I really believe that everything happens for a reason. It's all divine orchestration. So even with something as disastrous as this pandemic, we are also seeing a beautiful side of humanity rise up. I'm seeing people kinder. I'm seeing people more compassionate. Uh, People are coming together, and I think this is maybe because it's sort of unified all of us. Nobody is exempt in a way, which actually proves the whole point of interconnectedness and the oneness that is so prevalent within sort of this Vedic viewpoint, right? We're all one, or the entire world is our family. Vasudeva Kutumbakam, of course, that's the famous saying. And I think we're seeing this play out. I have been very impressed to see various organizations, charities, whether they're artistically bent or obviously some of faith as well, but just some genuine activist organizations that are they've raised money and they're giving scholarships, they're giving for women or people who really need it. There is help out there. I would my suggestion is please look for places where help is being because there is so much. I think people have been very generous, and not just governments and institutions, but the everyday person. They're all coming together and trying to give what little they have. And when everybody does that, I think the whole world benefits, and we've lived like this for a long time. I think we used to have this barter system before currency came in, and that everybody's needs were met. People got what they wanted, and they sort of were able to share what they had a surplus of. So my advice is please look out. There are people and institutions doing good work. Go to your temple or gurudwara or whatever your place of worship is, because they're also raising money. They have some funds to offer. Nobody should ever go hungry. There are places, there are food banks, there are all sorts of places that are helping, the hungry and so on. So even a place like LA, which has a lot of sort of socio-economic issues, people have come together. So I'm seeing a kinder world, right, or kinder LA, I should say, which is always nice.
Since you are writing a book on Shakti, which means energy, and the feminine energy, so do you think that the you may also want to, or you have already done it or something, you grouped all the volunteers together of women and trying to do something, because LA has been worse affected by corona virus as well as impending politically motivated riots as well. So do you think that you can put together something like that? Just a hypothetical question, or if you're doing it, please explain to us. Let us know, please.
It's a good question. I've always seen myself as being somebody my gift is really to kind of inspire groups of people, or like to be sort of on the kind of on a global stage and share, and people get inspired that way rather than a sort of a one-on-one thing. Some people are better that way. I think my gifts are different. I think through my book and my talks and my interviews and articles, I think I have the capacity to reach people en masse, and that's really what I should do. The more the better. The more people I can share with or get a hold of what I've written or said, if even one word or one sentence can help them understand something or uplift them, then I think I've done my job. I'm sure as the book unfolds, I will do a lot of talks, hopefully around the world, and I'll speak on it, and I'll have maybe women can organize talks, and I can speak at sort of women's centers and so on. I didn't really even think about that aspect of it, but because it happens to be on Shakti, then I think it's a different framework. I also think that it depends on how it's written, because if you come from a very abrasive point of view, I think you'll turn off people. So I have to really be, come with honey, I think, and of course my viewpoints on certain things, and to make more friends and get more fans that way, rather than tell people what's not working. And I don't think anybody wants to hear that, even though sometimes we need the medicine. So I'm gonna have to be love and light, I think, in the way that I sort of deliver this book. I have a sense that that's going to work greatly. If I do want this thing to be a sort of an international, hopefully, a book that's translated and read by people all around the world.
Excellent. And I think, from Sathology, we offer you all support, whatever we can give you. And also we congratulate you for taking that initiative. So viewers, we are just hearing Preity Upala, and she has joined us from LA. And we also want to thank her on behalf of Sathology for spending some of her time. She is a very busy person, so she has spent some time with us. So thank you, Preity, and thank you, and we'll look forward to the next session whenever you get time.
Thank you
Namaskar.
so much, Adi, and thank you to your wonderful audience. Please keep in touch. I look forward to being back on Pathology very soon.
Thank
Namaste.
you.